So I asked AI, and more in particular, I asked that Grok thing over on Twitter, how every single championship team is going to get on in the 2025-26 season, and it's given me an overall prediction and a table prediction of how each team is going to get on as well. And it's given me, as well as that, a sentence on every single championship team and what it thinks, how their season's going to go, and overall what's going to happen in the season. I'm going to be comparing it to my predictions and giving my overall thoughts on the predictions from AI. And it's very interesting, I think it's fair to say. And I don't really agree with it when I look at some of these teams. It's very, very questionable. But if you do want to enjoy the video, and do drop a like down below. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. We do daily championship content. We're only about 50 subscribers off 1,000. So if you wouldn't mind helping me out and trying to push me over that line to 1,000 subscribers, then it'd be very greatly appreciated. It only takes 1 second to hit that subscribe button. So if you wouldn't mind helping me out, it really would mean a lot to me. Right, so we'll start off with the relegation teams. And already, AI's got it wrong. They promoted Wycombe. Now, for some reason, they've not put Sheffield United in this. They've decided to promote 4 clubs from League One. So AI is there's already some flaws to this AI. But every single time I put it up, Wycombe was in 23rd. So we're going to have to just ignore Wycombe and then put everybody else in the championship table literally a place lower. But starting off at bottom of the league, it said Charlton. Now, right now, you can understand that. It says there's a sentence for them. Weakest promoted side, leaky defence. I mean, is that leaky? I mean, I don't think they were very leaky defence in League One, but maybe they're predicting there'll be a very leaky defence in the Championship, and they're predicting to finish bottom. Now, probably in my official predictions, Charlton, as of now, would be in the bottom 3, so don't disagree with that. Obviously, we've got Wycombe. Don't even want to talk about them. They're not even in the league. League One fodder, they are. But then we have Oxford in 22nd, which would probably be 23rd, really. It says defensive issues, lack of championship experience, and relegation risk. It's put them in 22nd. It's put them as a relegation risk. Lack of championship experience. You've got a manager who is literally one of the most championship experienced managers and just missed a championship in Gary Rowett. This guy's an absolute championship specialist. And Oxford, they definitely will need some investment, but I do think they will be down there, by the way. I put them slightly above relegation right now, but I can understand why they're putting Oxford in relegation. Right now with the bookies' favourites as well, Oxford are predicted to finish right down at the bottom as well. So you can understand AI's prediction putting Oxford in 22nd. Right, now moving on to the kind of section above the relegation zone, or technically you could kind of say in the relegation zone with Preston. They've put Preston in 21st, and they've put high draw counts, which Preston, they probably would draw a lot of games, let's be honest. Lack of attacking flair, which is also quite valid. They've also let go of a few players on free transfers. And vulnerable to drop. All fair points, I don't argue with that from AI. Preston have been pretty active in the transfer market. They brought in a few players. They brought in that lad from Charlton, that winger. They also brought in Valentine as well from Sheffield Wednesday. And they've made another sign, I think Thompson as well. The okay signings are they're very meh. I think they could be decent squad players / potential players that can come into the side. But they don't absolutely wow me. So I can understand the prediction of Preston, especially how they dropped off at the end of last season and almost got relegated. So I can understand Preston being down there, to be honest. I also kind of agree with that. Another one that I agree with being down there, to be fair, is Hull City. And it says, poor form in the 24-25 season may carry over at risk of a relegation battle. Now, Hull are going to splash in the transfer market. They always sign a good number of players. They'll probably bring in a lot of players. And it'll be interesting, obviously, getting rid of Ruben Sellers the season before that, getting rid of Rossignol. A lot of question marks at Hull, so I can understand the prediction for them being down in 20th. Blackburn Rovers are put in 19th, which a big drop-off they've predicted. Blackburn obviously very, very nearly got playoffs last season. They've predicted them in 19th, and it says likely to struggle but just avoid relegation. It depends on how they start the season with Valérien Ismaël. Obviously, he turned it around towards the back end of the season. Going into the new season, there's a few question marks over Blackburn. I don't think they'll have anywhere near as good a season as what they did last season. It would surprise me a lot if they're up there again. Lower mid-table, they've got them in. I can understand it. I don't absolutely hate it from our mate AI, aka Grok, who's predicted that for us. Moving on to Watford in 18th. Now, they've been pretty active in the transfer market. I think they made 3 signings already. They brought in Cipriano from Peterborough. They brought in Boller as well. They've been active in the transfer market. I think they brought in Baxter as well. So 3 transfers in so far for Watford. They're looking to be making moves. I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be fine for relegation, Watford. I did expect a Watford drop off as well, just due to the fact that the manager changed. We don't really know what we're going to get in terms of that. I can understand again Watford being in 18th. So far, AI, other than the Wycombe prediction, obviously, I think that bottom end of the table, they're not a million miles off with what I would personally predict myself. Now moving on to a bit more of the lower mid-table teams. We've got 4 more teams. In 17th, we've got QPR. In my team, QPR. It says expected to improve slightly but remain lower mid-table. Where did we finish last season? I swear we finished. Did we finish like 16th, 17th? Let me just quickly have a look at this, because I don't think we finished. We're not really improving if we finished in 17th, because I swear we did not finish that low in the table. Just having a look quickly, we finished in 15th. So I don't think we expect to improve if we finish 2 places below than last season. But fair enough, Grok. I do agree with it, though. I think we'll be lower mid-table. I'm not arguing the fact of where they've put us. Millwall, shocker. This is an absolute shocker. This is the first shocker. There's a few shockers, but this for me is a shocker. Competitive but inconsistent, safe mid-table finish. Now Millwall are always in and around mid-table, or at least pushing playoffs. For me, this is a real opportunity for Millwall to potentially have a playoff push this season, in my personal opinion. I don't know what's going on with Tanganga. He might move on, which is definitely a loss that would probably put them down a little bit in my predictions. They've got a good striker in Ivanovic, who's really coming through right now. A solid back line. I really do think Millwall will finish above 16th. So I think that is the first real shock, other than Wickham, the first real shocker that AI have had right there. So I disagree with that personally. Obviously, I might be completely wrong and AI might be right, because what do I know? For 15th, they got Portsmouth. Secured safety in 24-25 season, lightly mid-table with the South Coast derby. Valid, fair. I don't mind that. I think Portsmouth in that kind of position is similar to where I'd be putting them. I think they're going to be similar to last season in terms of they'll be safe from relegation. I think they'll really have a relegation battle, which, to be fair, last season they were in a relegation battle for quite a bit of it. But once they got out of it, they never really looked like going back in. I think Portsmouth will be fine. I think they'll be comfortable in mid-table, so I do agree with that prediction. Derby County in 14th, yeah, I don't mind it. They need to make transfers, though. They've not got enough forward and attacking options right now. They're going to have to improve, which I imagine they will. It's a stabilising 24-25, expected to remain mid-table. I wouldn't say remain mid-table, because last season they only just stayed up. But, yeah, I do think mid-table for Derby would be a good season for them and a good improvement. Just a steady season under John Eustace and try and build for the future for potential playoff push later down the line. So, yeah, 14th, I don't mind that with Derby County. Right, so now moving on to kind of top half of the table, really. In 13th, we've got Swansea. It says likely to miss out on playoffs but avoid relegation. It's basically having Swansea a very, very similar season to last season, where I think Swansea have got a decent chance of a playoff push. They're spending a bit of money, Swansea are. They're making transfers, and they're definitely on the up right now for Swansea. So for me, I would put Swansea a little bit higher than 13th. I personally think that is a little bit harsh. Bristol City, it says solid mid-table team, may push a playoffs but inconsistent. So with Bristol City, obviously they've lost Liam Manning, which is always going to play a part in me personally predicting them a little bit lower because they've lost him. We'll see what happens with other transfers, but the lack of, there's a lot of question marks over the ownership at Bristol City, and kind of a lack of ambition a lot of people are talking about over there. So I just don't think they can replicate that season that they had last season in terms of getting into the playoffs, and especially losing the manager as well. I do think they'll have a drop off from last season, so I don't mind that at all. Now with Stoke City, they've actually predicted them pretty high. I put Stoke down in maybe 14th, 15th in my predictions. 11th place for Stoke, which they're saying a mixed 24-25. But potential for improvement with stability. So they have. You have got Mark Robbins in charge now, which you would say is a bit more stability, but he's not been in the job long enough to properly, hand on heart, say that. But they're predicting Stoke to have a better season than what I do, which Stoke have potential. As I say, I always say it with Stoke, they always look like they could do a bit better, and then they always underperform basically with Stoke, and I predict them to underperform again. But Grok has got them in 11th. Fair enough. This one for me is probably the worst out of the lot, other than the Wickham one, of course. Sheffield Wednesday in 10th. It says improved 24-25, improved in 24-25, of course, with Danny Rowe. Expected to stabilise in mid-table. For me, the signs coming out of Sheffield Wednesday with an embargo that they've got, the ownership, Danny Rowe, what's going on. For me, I can't predict Sheffield Wednesday in 10th. I just quite simply can't. They would need a change in ownership if they want to finish 10th, in my opinion, which is obviously not going to be happening. Well, by the looks of it, it's not going to be happening anytime soon. So I think that's the worst prediction so far from Grok, I'm not going to lie. Now, moving on to the teams just missing out on the playoffs. They have got Wrexham as the team in 9th. It says momentum for promotions, financial backing, likely top half finish. I think Wrexham fans will probably take that, to be honest. I think they'll be very happy, really. Even staying up for Wrexham will be decent enough. Obviously, it remains to be seen what signs they're actually going to make. There's been a lot of talk about a lot of players. Christian Eriksen now, the most recent one linked. When you're getting linked with players like that, you know these guys are going to be splashing. You absolutely know. Something's going to happen this transfer window that's going to be crazy. So, 9th, Wrexham fans will probably take that, to be honest. As long as they stay up, it's decent enough. But they're a club that's absolutely on the up, and you'll probably see them in the Premier League in the next few years, to be honest, the way that they're going and how quick they're progressing. In 8th, I've got Norwich City improving a lot on last season, obviously. At the back end of the season, really struggled. Second half of the season, absolutely fell away completely and really, really had a poor season. And they're predicting under Liam Manning, under the new manager, a much better season. Playoff pedigree, expected to stay competitive, they're saying. A lot of question marks with the transfer window, but Norwich will get good fees for Borja Sainz. They'll get good fees for Sargent if they do go on to move on. And Norwich will reinvest. And they always seem to pull players out of the bag, out of nowhere. And they perform well. And then then they'll sell them to somebody else. That is what Norwich do. So they'll probably invest quite wisely. They'll probably bring in some solid players. Liam Manning might bring a few players over that he knows well. And I think Norwich will have a decent season. So I agree with that, to be fair. West Brom has got in 7th. Is that the most standard prediction you can ever get? West Brom in and around the playoffs. It's an absolute banker, isn't it? So they're saying solid 24-25 season. I disagree. I don't think it was very solid. I think it was a pretty poor season for West Brom standards. It's an experienced squad to push the playoffs. Yeah, absolutely agree with that. I think West Brom will be in and around the playoffs. They always are. So now going into the teams that they think are going to get inside of them playoffs. So obviously we just said the teams missing out. In 6th, they've got scraping in Coventry City. It says young, dynamic squad likely to secure playoff spot. I agree with that. I think Coventry are a team that can really get better again under Frank Lampard. I think he'll learn from this experience in his first season at Coventry, and Coventry could come back a even better team than what they were under Frank Lampard last season. A lot of potential with that club. They've got some real players in that team. If they can keep Jack Radoni, of course, that'll be a big kind of indication of whether they can get playoffs or not this season. But I think that's a decent prediction from Grok there, and I'm quite confident in Coventry getting a playoff spot. Now, interestingly, they have put Middlesbrough in the playoffs in 5th. It says consistent playoff contenders, which is very valid, they always are, and strong squad depth. Yeah, I agree, to be fair, but Middlesbrough underperformed so much, or so poor. They were so poor last season. They've got to improve on their defence, certainly. They've got to make defensive incomings and defensive signings. Obviously, Michael Carrick's gone. Steve Cooper, I've seen getting linked. Danny Rowe. We need to see who that manager is. But Middlesbrough, really, there's no excuses. They should be absolutely in and around the playoffs because they got the budget. They're a big club at Championship level as well. They should really be in and around the playoffs, in my opinion. Now, Leicester, they have got in 4th, which is, I'm pretty sure I might have put Leicester in 4th in my predictions. Even with the points deduction, it says competitive but potential points deduction may hinder title challenge. Absolutely agree. I think if they didn't have the points deduction, which looks to be taking place, then they'll be for me they'll be right up there in terms of automatic promotion. But that's obviously holding them back. I think they'll still get playoffs. I said before, I think they'll still get playoffs even with the points deduction, in my personal opinion. Now in 3rd place, they have got the newly promoted Birmingham City. They've put heavy investment tipped for back-to-back promotions. I mean, Birmingham are up there in terms of the bookies odds. A lot of people thinking they'll get into the playoffs this season. You're looking at the players they're already linked with. They've already brought in that centre back Newman. They've also been linked with Damari Gray. They've been linked with Poku as well. They're getting linked with serious names where you think, this could happen. This could happen. They could definitely get into the playoffs. So I don't hate that prediction at all. I wouldn't put them maybe as high as 3rd. I'd maybe put them a little bit lower down in the playoffs. But it's a solid prediction. I don't mind that. And I actually rate it. And they're obviously predicting that Birmingham are going to be splashing the cash, which they will be. And they've already got so much positive momentum as well. I spoke about it in the last video. The stadium they're building as well in 2029. These guys have got to be in the Premier League. They're building a 62,000 seat stadium. They are going all out for Premier League football. They're not messing about. So for me, it's a fair prediction putting Birmingham in 3rd, honestly. I'm moving on to the top 2 now. Now, it's worth noting, Sheffield United aren't in this because, as I say, they've promoted 4 League One teams. So I don't know what they're doing with Sheffield United, but I'd imagine they'd have Sheffield United right in and around this kind of automatic playoff spot. So you can maybe move all them teams down a spot and maybe put Sheffield United into 3rd. Because I do think they'll probably still predict these 2 as a top 2. So Ipswich in 2nd, they've predicted. A lot of people obviously have them as their title winners. It says talented squad, Kieran McKenna's leadership, likely automatic promotion. Will Kieran McKenna stay? Could he maybe go to Brentford if Thomas Frank goes to Spurs? Potentially. But yeah, Ipswich in second. They absolutely have the squad quality to do that. You look at the players that obviously didn't look great in the Premier League, like a Jack Clark, Jadon Philogene, and Sammy Schmeider. Sammy Schmeider wasn't bad in the Prem, to be fair. You also got Jacob Greaves as well. You got so much. You got an absolute championship all-star team. So for me, yeah, correct prediction from Grok to put Ipswich in automatic promotion. And Southampton, it says strong squad, Premier League pedigree, well, 12-point pedigree, and Will Still's management. I think that's pretty fair. I think the first two statements, I think strong squad, yes. Players coming back from loan like Shea Charles, Ronnie Edwards, unbelievable players. So yes. Will Still's management, very exciting young English coach who's got a lot. Who's got still a lot to learn. Of course, he's still only like 32 years old, but he's also got a lot of experience for his age and done a fantastic job over in France. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how he gets in the Championship. And genuinely one of the most exciting appointments. He's an appointment that I'm so excited about seeing how Southampton get on. And I agree, I think Southampton will be right up there at the top of the league. Despite finishing 12 points, I actually think there's a bit of positivity around Southampton, which sounds crazy. But as I say, there's a lot of good young players there. They've got players coming back from loan, and they've now got a good young coach as well. I think things are looking up at Southampton. So I'm pretty confident in Southampton doing well. So I agree with the AI's prediction. Let me know what you think of those predictions in the comment section down below. Do drop a like if you enjoyed the video as well. It'd be very greatly appreciated. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. As I say, we're closing in on 1,000 subscribers. So if you wouldn't mind helping me out, dropping that subscription, please do help me out. We're so close now. Thank you all for the support as well. Very greatly appreciated. And with that, what I'll do for the video. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.